Hello friends, Jeff here and welcome to Squadron and welcome to Squadron Facebook Live. Now to start this off, before we start the topic, I would like to apologize to you guys for last week and the week before. I was not aware that you could read the comments on the Facebook, on the screen. And I don't want to come off like a douchebag, but again, we got that fixed. We got the screen turned around so I can actually see if somebody is commenting. Now I try to stay focused to the topic because I still have to translate everything, and sometimes words leave my mouth that are not ready. So for that I apologize, but anyway, we got it fixed. I learned something. Like I said, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I'm trying. So I'm still young. Eventually I'll get it all together. Now last week we talked a little bit about how I got into the hobby, how I got started as a kid, the first model I built with my parents, all that kind of stuff. But I also would like to shed a little light on during my career, I was very fortunate to witness the whole evolution of modeling. From the early beginnings to where we are today, and especially with the accessories. Now, turn back the clock like 40 years. Now, there were plastic models, of course, before I was born, but not that many. And it was not up until the late 60s that the model industry started to take shape. But even then, there was nothing available as far as accessory. If you really wanted to spruce up your airplane or wanted to add a piece to your tank or your armor model, you had to do it yourself. You had to make do what was around the house. So, and where I come from in Belgium, there was absolutely nothing. We were only familiar with Airfix, with Frog, maybe if you're lucky, a monogram kit that came through. But other than that, there was nothing. No accessories, no photo etch, no nothing. Now, literally, I had to fly to a different planet to buy a piece of plastic sheet. That's how bad it was. I'm serious. There was nothing available. Now, move forward to the mid 70s. One night I was strolling downtown in the town where I'm originally from, and it was already late. It was dark, and the shops were most of the shops were already closed. So before I went back to the car, I could see like across the street there was this little commotion going on, and there was a storefront that was still lit up. So it got my attention. Walked over there, and there. Well, first of all, it was Verlinden's opening night. He opened his first store in there, and what I saw in that window just blew me away. That was what I expected that the hobby would be. That's how I envisioned plastic modeling. I saw the dioramas there, the weathering techniques. It was all there displayed in that window. So I stood there like for about 10, maybe 15 minutes drooling until somebody pushed me in. There were a lot of people in the store, and this was also one of the first professional model stores I walked in. I never saw something like that. So eventually I got to talk to Verlinden, and I didn't know the man. And how I got in touch with Verlinden, that's a different story. For everybody who knows Verlinden, he was a special character. So that's going to be maybe down the line. I'll tell a little bit about the Verlinden years that I worked for. Now, before I went home, he gave me a little, he reached over and he said, "Here, take this." So I looked at it, and it was a piece, it looked to me like a piece of plaster. And when I looked closely, it was like a strip of sandbags. But the sandbags were all matched together, and it was one solid piece. And he said, "Go home, paint this, and let me know what you think about it." So okay, I went home, painted the thing, and I was happy with it. I was like, this is actually the first time I held like an accessory in my hand, and it changed the whole world of how I envisioned going forward building models. And so next day I went back and I said, "Hey, you know what, Mr. Verlinden, do you have anything more? Because I'm really interested in this, and this is absolutely fantastic." So he gave me a couple more pieces, and he said, I tried to launch this new line, and it's called DC. If I remember correctly, it was DCI, diorama construction. Oh, DCS, diorama construction sets. And all it was I remember there was a couple ammo crates. There were the sandbags, of course, and then there was a little fountain, like a little water fountain that you could display on a diorama. So I took those home and painted those, and I remember making a little vignette with all three displayed. It was a little odd looking, a little funky, but you know what? That was to me the start of diorama building. Now more and more, I got closer and closer to Verlinden, and eventually I started working there as a pattern maker and a designer. And for about, I think it was about 10 years, I made between 1,000 and 1,500 patterns, designs. Now it could be like a 1/35 scale rifle, all the way up to a full-blown 1/16 scale Tiger tank. So I learned a lot, and I saw the evolution of how he went by making those accessories. Now, after the plaster, he tried some polyester. Now, if you're the people out there who are familiar with polyester, liquid polyester especially, I mean, that thing stinks. It's really a very, very smelly. It's a chemical, and when you sand it, it's not all that healthy. But it was better than plaster, and it didn't have it was not as porous. It didn't have the holes. It looked a little gunky because in the old days, when you poured polyester, you never knew what color it was going to come out. I mean, it was like it was always like a shitty color. It was like a brown or green, or even a combination of both. But once painted up, it looked a lot better, and the detail really popped out. So that went on for a couple of years, and then finally he found a company in France that actually produced industrial resin that we know now. So for the longest time, and then the whole thing exploded. There was like, I always call him the grandfather of resin because to me, he started it all and what it became today. So he really earned the right to call himself the father or grandfather of the accessory. So I worked there for about 10 years, and then I finally, we didn't see eye to eye anymore, and a lot of things going on, again, material for another story. So eventually, me and my partner, we packed up our bags and came to the United States and started Kendall Model Company in Miami. And I'm sure that people who know me, is anybody watching? Because I'm just talking about all four of them. Okay. So we moved to Miami, and then we established Kendall Model Company, and I'm sure a lot of you guys that know me from the KMC days. So then, after 4 years, the contract was up, and I moved to West Virginia and started Black Box. Again, for people who know me, my Black Box years, it was all about accessory and pattern making, but because that's what I was interested in. But there was also another thing that was looming, and that was since I was not a citizen, I had a hard time to establish myself here in the United States. And immigration law, we're not going to go about it, but it's very complex and very complicated. There's a lot of stressful, that was a very stressful period for me. So after renewal of my visa every 5 years, I didn't get anywhere. It was just every 5 years I was put into a position that I could lose it all and was sent back. So I only could stay here because of sponsorship. If somebody would sponsor me, then I could basically get a green card and get citizenship, and that was the whole deal coming here. So I did Squadron, actually. Squadron MMD they were already a customer of mine from my little outfit that I run. And back then, Chuck Aransky and Mike McMahon, they approached me and they said, you know what, we can help you sponsoring, and we are looking for a pattern maker and somebody who runs the production department. So we talked about it, and we came to an agreement that they would sponsor me for my green card and citizenship, and that I would run the production department and become basically the pattern maker for the True Details line. Now, okay, I did that for several years, and but more and more I started looking, because you have to understand, everything was done by hand. Before 10 years, all the patterns were basically made by hand. You had a little milling machine, a little lathe, but all the patterns, all the accessories were always made by hand. And then about maybe around 5-7 years ago, you start see more and more 3D prints popping up. You could see that the quality of the accessories was a lot better. There was also a little bit more available, and there were a couple leaders in the world, like for instance Edward and Special Hobby. Those were the ones that really were leading the way as far as the 3D printing. And so Squadron took it upon themselves to basically dig into it, and we finally found somebody who could do, of course, the CAD drawing and 3D printing. Now, for the ones out there that really don't, and I'm sure most of you know, but the ones that really don't know what 3D printing is, it's basically let me give you an example here. Let's say you want to come out with an ejection seat, and in this case it's the ACES 2 ejection seat for F-16s. You go where there is a real one, and you take pictures. You take pictures from all sides. This is the front, but you have to take pictures from the side, from the bottom, from the top. You take measurements, and then you give that to the person that actually does the CAD drawing. And CAD stands for computer assisted drawing. So that's he makes a CAD drawing which looks a little bit like this, also from different sides. This is just a side view, but it's the front, the bottom, the top, and that data is imported into the computer and then connected to the printer, and then eventually you get a print, a real life accurate print. Now a print looks a little bit like this, and it all depends on the material they use. So all the black you see is actually a print. And if you ever into the position or in a situation where you can see a print, who is there? Just popped up back. Somebody. Oh, okay.
I said hi.
Hi. Whoever. Now I'm distracted. Where was I?
We're talking about the print.
If you ever get into a position where you can witness this, how it all goes about, then you should watch it, because it's pretty fascinating how a print can be layered. It's like layer by layer, and usually a print of this size takes several hours to do. But then once you get that, you get an accurate depiction of your drawing. Now you might say, what is the white stuff on there? Well, friends, that's just milliput. I always like to keep my fingers in it, and usually when you do 3D printing, it's all crisp and it's sharp, and all the corners are not the corners, but all the features are straight, and everything mechanical is better to do it in 3D printing. But I like to bring a little bit of an organic feel to it, and that's why I like to do the cushions and the harness myself with milliput. So once this is done and you get your final pattern ready, then you put it in a mold, in a silicone mold, you demold it, and then you get your first production sample, and it looks like this. So I don't know if you can see this.
A little closer.
Can you see this, Lena? Okay.
Okay.
Like here? All right. So this is what you get, Now, anyway, again, like I said in the beginning of the story, I was very, very, very fortunate to, over a period of 30-40 years, to see this whole evolution from plaster of Paris all the way to a 3D print. And I'm very lucky that I'm one of the few people that was in that position. So that's about my little lecture about accessories. Now, before I go, I would like to do a little raffle. So for everybody who's watching right now, if you could post in the comments on your Facebook. Is it Facebook? Yeah. Not YouTube, but Facebook. If you would post in your comment section, which is the new Tamiya 148 scale plane that Tamiya is going to release this month. If you can put that in the comment section, and all the people who have it right, their name goes into a drawing, and next week during the live session we'll pull a name, and we're going to give away this t-shirt, this modeler's t-shirt. Now we got different sizes, so for the skinny people out there, or maybe not so skinny people out there, we got them in all out here. Okay, I can't see. Okay, so anyway, that was it. And then one last thing. Last week we told you that we have a little pop-up shop attached to our building here, and we got some pretty good response on that. So tomorrow officially it's going to be the grand opening. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be shaking hands and kissing babies. So tomorrow, if you're free and you're in the area between 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll be there, and we can eat cookies and drink coffee and chit chat. So please, tomorrow, tell your friends, if you're in the neighborhood, if you're in the area, stop by, say hi, and then we'll see you there. But for now, also, don't forget to subscribe to our Facebook, to our YouTube, to our, what is the other one?
We have Instagram.
Instagram. Please become a subscriber. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody, and I'll see you guys next week. Same time, 12 o'clock Central. But for now, that was it. Jeff V here, signing off.